Hey, Saints TV here. Welcome everyone. Welcome to an early edition of the Round 18 preview. Firstly, just so you don't ask me why I'm doing it on a Wednesday, I am flying interstate tomorrow, so I won't be available to do the live preview tomorrow. So I'm doing it today. The teams are obviously not out yet, um, but I don't really think there'll be that many changes. So I thought I'd do it early, and we can just kind of have a discussion about how the week's going, the news on Alan Richardson, the news on the coaching position at St Kilda, and just what that leaves, where that puts us, where that leaves us for the future, and what we can expect for the weekend against the Dogs, rebounding, and what it means for the rest of the season. G'day, Glenn. Thanks for commenting. Firstly, let's just talk about yesterday and leading up to that. I guess from my perspective, I've always backed Richo. I've always thought he tried his heart out. He really did everything for the benefit of the club, and for me, it's no surprise he did it the way he did it. I thought he did it the best way possible, and if you look at it, he's put the club absolutely first, which he's done his whole coaching career. And it's testament to him as a person, and he could have easily just kept going each week. We would have lost, and pressure would have been growing, and there would have been this inevitability about him being sacked at the end of the season. And you think, if we sack him at the end of the season after round 23, it puts us into a terrible position to look for new coaches. It puts us in a really bad position to pursue future players, and it really does just stunt our growth as a club. And I think that him doing it yesterday and him coming out and saying that he knows that he's not the man to take this club forward, and he thinks the players are good enough, which I believe they are. They just need a new direction, and hopefully Ratten can do it for 6 weeks, and then we can see if he does get the full-time gig, and if he doesn't, who else is in line. And we'll talk about that, because I've got the not sponsored by this, but I've got the sports bet St Kilda coaching odds, and we'll see some of the names there which are quite interesting, and some that look good, some that obviously you don't want to come anywhere near our great club, including I'm talking about in terms of Brad Scott. So I'm so glad that Richo did the way he did it. He went out on his terms. He sacrificed a big pay packet to do what he did yesterday. And I think, hopefully looking long term, we can look back on some, an event like yesterday and realize that, that was a key change in the club's history, and hopefully one that helps us grow and become a better club. Where that leaves us, it leaves us with Brett Ratten, guys, and he's a guy that has got as much experience out there as anyone, and a mixed bag, mind you. He coached Carlton. He coached a very average list to finals, and that's something Richo couldn't do with us. So that's a big up on him. And some people have commented and telling me, he got sacked and he's not good enough. He only got sacked because Mick Malthouse came along, and Mick Malthouse is a premiership coach. You're not going to say no to Mick Malthouse if you're Carlton, especially to rub it into Collingwood, and also to get an experienced premiership coach. You're not going to say no. That's the only reason why I feel like they sacked him. If Mick Malthouse hadn't come along, I feel like Ratten would have had a longer time at Carlton. Maybe he would have even had more success than he did. But it put him into a great position. He became assistant at Hawthorn under probably one of the greatest coaches of all time in Alistair Clarkson. Had 4 or 5 good years, or even longer, maybe under Clark. I think 4 premierships. He was part of 3 or the 4 premierships. He knows how to get the best out of players. He knows a system that works and is sustainable through finals. And I'm super excited to see how he goes. And he got Carlton playing some exceptional football, exceptionally exciting football. And even though they might have lost a few games, they kicked over 100 points. And they had Judd, they had Favola, they had all those players. But I feel like with our list, if he does have that sort of influence on the team, we might be playing more exciting football. And to be honest, guys, if you look at it, if you had have lost the same amount of games this season, but we played more exciting football, we kicked bigger scores, we'd be a lot happier. I think losing the way we're losing and kicking 7s, 8, 9, 10 goals max a game, I feel like that really has killed us. But if you're playing exciting football, you know that at some point it's going to turn around, but we haven't done that yet. And I think Brett Ratten can get us to do that. Whether he's the full-time coach, who knows? Let's go through the list of coaches that Sportsbet reckons are a chance for the position. And the favourite, looking at this list, is Brad Scott. I don't understand how he's the favourite for this. Everyone's just talking about it. Rumours are coming out that he's essentially a done deal. I really don't believe that. Brett Ratten's number 2. Robert Harvey, number 3. Some people would love to have Robert Harvey. Others don't because they risk, ruining his legacy at the club as a player. And if he doesn't go so well as a coach, it really does hurt his legacy. But if he's done the yards under Nathan Buckley for a long time, part of the premiership. I think he was a premiership assistant coach from memory. Maybe he wasn't. Can't remember. After that was Michael Voss. Ross Lyon coming back at $9. I don't understand that. Lenny Hayes, Brendan Late, who's obviously at the club still. Jade Rawlings. Luke Beveridge is one that everyone's talking about. He hasn't re-signed with the Dogs. And he's gotten them playing very good football. So it'll be interesting to see how we go against them on the weekends. Kingsley. Blake Carousella's one that I'd like to look at. I think he was the midfield coach for Geelong, did a really good job there under, very good coaches. And obviously he's now the midfield coach or assistant coach at Richmond, who, need I say more, they've turned the season around. They're a premiership team. Similar position to where we were a couple of years ago. Same with Hardwick, but they kept him on. They got some new assistants in, including Blake Carousella, and you can see how good their midfield has become. Nick Rewalt's there, but I know Nick's probably not going to do that. Alistair Clarkson's an interesting one. $26 on Alistair Clarkson. One of the greatest coaches ever. I think Hawthorn are currently trying to negotiate his contract, but it doesn't seem to be signed yet. I would love to offer over 6 years, $2 million a year, throw the kitchen sink at Alistair Clarkson to come across. But if not, go for Luke Beveridge. I think he's the next best thing, along with Brett Ratten. I'm not going to rule Rats out. Everyone's already saying that because he's the caretaker, he's not a chance. He's openly said that he wants to coach again, and I think if he does a good job with this group, there is no reason why we can't go with him. And if you look at the other caretakers in David Teague and Reece Shaw, they've literally had no experience at this level. I think we've got a different level of caretaker because Brett Ratten has been there. He's coached 120 games, and then he's been assistant coach for about 5-6 years after that to a very one of the successful teams in modern AFL, VFL history in Hawthorn. So he's a different kettle of fish. You can't compare him to David T and Reece Shaw, but I'm hopefully going to compare him to them in terms of results. I really want to see the team lift. The weight is off their shoulders. No excuses now. It's really over to the players because we always easily can point fingers at the coaches. We can point fingers at the assistant coaches and say we're playing players out of position. It's the game plan. It's this and that. This week, Rats has got Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday to get everything ready for Sunday, and I'm really excited to see what changes happen from this. Before I get into the actual game and talk about that, let's go through some of these comments. In Run Out Richo, says Andrew. Well, he's caught up with the news recently. That's good. Craig says, hey, mate. Glenn says, do you think Rui will think about coaching? I don't know. I've always been an advocate for it. I can't stand Rewald and Nicky Dell and Lee Montagna constantly, critiquing the club and talking about things the way they'd like it to be run, but then clearly just standing on the outside, staying in their media roles, Fox Footy, Triple M, all that crap. Get into the club and make it happen, guys. Stop just talking about it from a distance. Actually get into the club. It's a club that made you who you are, got you as rich as you are, got you as famous as you are. The least you can do now is turn around, go back into the club and really help turn it around, become it, and help it grow into what it used to be with those players there. Because I think the one thing we lack, and a lot of other clubs have, is they really cherish their old players, their retired players, their champs, and get them involved in the club in more ways than one. And I'd love to see that with us and Rui in particular, but I'm just not sure he wants to do it. It hasn't been asked of him. I'd be interested to see what happens if someone on TV actually just says, hey, Rui, would you love to get involved in the club again? Even at a board level would be good. In the coaching process, I'd love for him to be a part of that because I know he's been a big advocate of making sure that Leathorn doesn't just hire his best mate in Brad Scott because I know that they're pretty close, I believe. and everyone thinks that he's a shoo-in for that role just because he's a mate. But Riewoldt knows there's more integrity in that coaching interview process, and St Kilda's not gonna, not gonna ignore any steps there. They're going to go for it as it should be, and it should be a thorough process, you'd think. Darren says Brandon White is in the mix. Do you think he will play and who will go out? I'd love to see Brandon White. He played in the game before the main game for Sandy last weekend. I think he had over 23, 24 possessions, played a really strong game. We played him forward against North, and I thought he was actually pretty good. And last week we played Mackenzie forward against Geelong. So I wouldn't mind seeing maybe Mackenzie out, Brandon White in. I'm not sure how Parker will go if he comes straight in, but I wouldn't mind seeing a Brandon White, maybe even a Jimmy Webster if he's returning. That'd be awesome. And I believe Josh Battle's only a week away, so we'll see him soon as well. Claire says Richo was a gentleman to the end. I agree. He handled himself extremely well, and I'm really glad he did it the way he did it, and I'm really confident that he'll find another role in another AFL team very soon. He's a good guy. Aaron says, done the best he could, hold his head high in terms of Richo. Jason says, hey, mate, could this be the catalyst for something truly exciting? Mate, Jason, that's a great call. Good question. It gets me excited. I'm a bit annoyed that, I can't make it to the game on Sunday. I'm traveling to Queensland tomorrow until next week, so I won't be able to go, but I'll try and find somewhere to watch it. And I'm really excited to just see if we don't get the chocolates, that's fine, but I want to see some changes. I want to see Gresham more forward. I want to see I don't want to see experimentation. I just want to see Brett Ratten put his spin on it and not just let the players go through the motions, because the players can either come out, breathing fire and angry and feel guilty for what happened to Richo and believe it's on them, or they can just cry about it and go through the motions for the next 6 weeks and really just screw Ratten over as well. So I don't think that's how they're going to go. I think their approach is they feel the pain for Richo, they feel guilty for it, partly responsible, and I hope they come out and really put the foot down against the Dogs, because we've got Bulldogs Sunday and then we've got Melbourne the week after. So there's actually 2 very winnable games there against teams that I think, we can really benchmark ourselves against, because the Dogs, you'd expect us to be fairly level with them. They're just in better form. And Melbourne, we've already beaten this season and beaten the last 2 times we played them. So I'm super excited to see how we go. Matt says, can't say they don't give him a shot. 6 years is a good opportunity. I feel we need a hard taskmaster to install the right attitude. I agree with that. I think the one thing that everyone's kind of criticised Richardson on is that he's too much of a mate. He's too friendly and that he can't be tough. I'm not sure about that. Obviously, none of us know about that because we're not inside the 4 walls of the club. But I do agree that we need someone that doesn't let the players just get a bit complacent on the field, that doesn't drop standards, because I know one thing is that we might be able to train harder and we don't. Hopefully Rats, and this week in particular, they come out and really take they're professionals, take their job seriously. And take us as fans seriously, because we pay money every week to come and watch, away or home, and we want to see some results. So there's a lot of pressure on them for the next 6 weeks, I reckon. Richo was all class in the presser. Hashtag bring halves home. Matt says Brad Scott equals support a revolt. I agree. I think a lot of members will jump off if we get Brad Scott, including, I won't jump off, but I'd be very angry, but you got to try and distance yourself. Brad Scott at North could be different at, a different Brad Scott to at St Kilda. You never know. It's hard to just judge people just by the past, but, if it happens, we're just going to have to deal with it. We're not going to just not go to the games, are we? The club's not going to hire him and then just suddenly change their mind. If they hire him, it's going to be for a minimum 2 years, I reckon, and then we'll see how we go. Anthony says, I'd love to see Robert Harvey come home and coach. Was my favourite player as a kid. Cooper says, I feel for Rich, I really do. No other damn coach would have done any matter this season. With 16 players on the injury list, 10 in the best, 22. Hannah, Stephen, Carlisle, Webster, Loney, King, McCartan. I agree with that 100%. Drop Ben Long. He had 6 touches, not good enough. I wouldn't drop Ben Long. You forget he kicked 2 ripper goals, and I think his attitude was in the right place. And I think Brett Ratten could really turn him around. Hannah's might play, if so. Patton. Hannah's wasn't even on the injury report list, so could be a chance. I think he's training Thursday, and then they'll judge him then. If Hannah's isn't available, then bring in Rowe, extra tall forward, stretch the Dogs' defence. James says Ratten is our man now. Maybe he's better for the experience. We'll find out very soon. David says, this is a mini interview for Ratten. If he gets 4 wins out of next 6, then Rats will most likely get the gig. Players will be playing for their careers now that the coach is gone, all on notice. I agree with that. I think that Ratten is going to judge them very harshly. And players like Jack Nunes, to a lesser extent, Seb Ross can't just go around doing the same old. They're really going to have to lift, and they're going to have to impress him, because if he's the coach next season, this next 6 weeks are going to decide whether they're trade bait or, they're definite players to keep on the list. We better not get Brad Scott, says Justin. Sad but very classy exit. Let's see how Ratten goes. Go Saints. A lot of my Carlton friends want Ratten back. Harvey coach, Lenny mid assistant would be good. I still think any coach will be better, will battle to get more out of players available. It remains to be seen, Ian. We'll see how we go on Sunday. Ryan, Billings has the potential to be a Judd. Bruce can be a Fev like when he wants. And I do agree that I think Bruce has kicked 12 goals, 2 in the last 3 weeks. And it's phenomenal because he was going through a tough patch in that rounds 4 to 12 period, but he's really turned it around since. And I've heard from inside sources that Dermot Brereton has worked with Brucey very, very intensely, particularly because Max King's down. He's worked with Brucey a lot during training, and that's no doubt giving Brucey a lot of confidence and teaching him some ways to really use his body, because prior to this season, he's a lead-up forward, but recently he's been using a lot of body-on-body, and I'm really liking that. Jason says, Scott, that is. Razor says, Harvey's an emotional decision. Luke Beveridge with Grant Thomas as director of coaching. That'd be hilarious. Bevo would be good. Garen says, agreed, Clarkson all day. Ian says, failing to get Clarkson, I would like Paul Roos. Nah, I can't stand Paul Roos. I think he's not going to be our next premiership coach. He'll be there for a couple of years, get us somewhere else, and then someone else will take over. I don't want us to do that. I want us to get someone that's ready-made now, that is ready to be our next premiership coach, and I don't think Paul Roos can be that. Leone says, good luck, Rats. Hope we can win this week. Dalsano coaches our next-gen academy. He hasn't put his hand up, but it could be interesting if he climbs into the ranks. Joe says the Saints will be determined to come out firing against the Bulldogs on Sunday. That's what St Kilda Football Club said today. What a lot of bull. These players should be bloody determined every bloody week, not because they got a new coach. I agree with that, but they're obviously going to be coming out very strong this week because of what happened. Does anyone know how Jack Stevens going? I know he's training. I don't think this is the week for him, but I think in the next couple of weeks we'll see him. I think there will be a lot of changes in the off-season to the list. No doubt about that. Robertson, is he going to retire? Paddy McCartan, is he going to retire? We're going to trade Seb Ross, Jack Nunes, Jack Stephen. It's a bunch of them. Bev says, Rue was asked to help at St Kilda, but he said he wasn't ready. That's bull. He should be ready. Glenn says, what's your honest opinion? Do we need another rebuild? And if we get Rats, will he bring the trophy home? I genuinely don't think we need another rebuild. The more I think about how our list is placed, the more I think it's exciting. In terms of Luke Caulfield, Nick Caulfield coming on, Hunter Clark coming on, Max King, number 4 draft pick, Bytel's going to come in and give some more depth to the midfield. Hanbury back, Stephen back. I think we're going to get more output out of Bruce. We're going to get more output out of Membry. I think we've got Wilkie. We've got Josh Battle coming through in defence. Carlisle's back. Nathan Brown. We've got Geary to come back. Webster, McKenzie, Brandon White, Jack Loney. There's Jade Gresham, Jack Billings. There's potential there to have a freakishly good team. They just need to put it together, and I'm just hoping Brett Ratten can do that. Andrew says, Coach Robert Harvey, Sam Mitchell, assistant. Lenny Hayes needs to give him time. I don't see a strong list. Need to go to the draft again with a new recruiting team if we want a flag. Do you think St Kilda's recent performance is Alan Richardson's fault, or was it mostly out of his hands? And if it is, what is the core problem causing St Kilda's recent performance? Good question, Connor. I think it's a bit of a mixture. I think Richo probably hasn't done as well in the coaching as he would have liked personally, and I don't think the players have taken on board exactly what he wanted from them. And I got a bit of that feeling in his presser when he said, that the one thing he told Rats as a bit of feedback for him to, in his coaching for the rest of the season is, get them to kick it through the big sticks. That'd be good. That's almost sarcastic from Richo saying, I'm coaching them to kick goals and they're not. That's how I took it. He's not coaching them to kick 9 goals a week. He's probably coaching them to kick 15 to 20 goals a week, and it's really not happening. So partially, I think it's 50-50 on players, on Richo, on the drafting, getting Hanbury at 800K instead of going for a young talent. There's little ifs and buts there, but we've got what we've got, and I think we need to make do. There's worse lists in the league, I think, that are doing better than us, to be honest. I think North's one of them. I think the Dogs are pushing it. They just have the top-end talent in Bont, McRae, those sort of players. We don't have absolute top-end talent, but in terms of mid-tier C and B grade talent, we have more than anyone. If they can get some of them to really go to the next level, like Sinclair's of the team, we're in a good position. So many people going against Scott, but he got the Roos to 2 prelims back-to-back. Correct me if I'm wrong. No, I think they just don't like him as a person. His record's not bad, but he's also never looked likely to win a flag, at all. And he doesn't draft well. He doesn't recruit a lot of youngsters. He's very stubborn, I've heard. He sticks to the one game plan, but we want a guy that can be versatile and change with the game. Alistair Clarkson can do that. I'll be interested to see how Brett Ratten goes with that as well. Imagine if a player as good as Bytel had been picked, only a fit one could have helped. I'd rather offer Clarko $2 million a season than a player like Caniglio. I think so. I think getting the head coach role now is priority, and drafting someone like a big name like that is secondary. I mentioned the fact Del Sano coaches our next gen team because you had a crack at him for being an outsider and not helping. I just mean that he's coaching the next gen team, but he's not helping internally at the club. He's not there training with the Jack Stevens, with the midfielders. I'd love for them to get more involved with the first team, not with the juniors or Sandy. Get in there with the players that are playing AFL standard football. That'd be my ideal scenario. I don't think we'd be ready to come and be in a weighted position at our club. As a mentor, yes, he's ready, but as a coach or board member, I say it's a no for a few years, as he still makes too many of it. He still mates with too many of our list. Wouldn't work yet. Give it 3 to 5 years. I'm thinking that's in regards to Rewalt. We need a hard-nosed coach, is Dean's comment there. So I might leave it there, guys. Let's just quickly go through the Bulldogs. That's in terms of coaching. It's interesting the betting odds have dropped big time in terms of the betting for us. We're $2.70 now. I think we were above $3.50 before Richo quit. So we'll see how we go there. Bulldogs have won the last 3 against us. They're 8-8. We're 6-10, so they're only 2 wins better off. Let's go match preview. What it means for St Kilda. A fresh start. It's been inevitable for a while that Alan Richardson wouldn't be coaching next year. That speculation will be gone now, and the club will hope to receive the bounce that often seems to happen when an interim, in this case Brett Ratten, is placed in charge. Let's see what else we got. Big call. The combined tally of behinds to double the combined tally of goals. I really hope that's not the case. Prediction: Western Bulldogs by 14 points. I'm gonna go us. I'm tipping us, guys. I have some sneaky feeling we're gonna be in it up into our eyeballs. We're gonna come out guns blazing. I hope we expose their small defense. They're known to have a small defense, but they do love to handball it. They do love to pressure, and I hope that they handball all day long, because if our pressure's on and we can get some turnover, I think we can get a reward. And our forward line obviously hasn't been firing all season. We haven't kicked over 100 points in over 25 games. But I think this could be a game where we get close. And if we do, no doubt we're in with a big chance of winning. Clinton, I'll leave it with a few other comments. Clinton says, I love the romance behind Bevo at the helm and Lennon Harvey as assistant, but Rats is too good to lose. What role does he play? That's a good point. He's not going to go... I don't know if he'd go back to being an assistant, but you never know with Rats. He might be comfortable doing that. Ratten, players love him, appears happy, certainly improved billings. He's done a great job, and we're only going to see more of him for the next 6 weeks. So hopefully we can judge him honestly, not go too harsh on him, because he's not going to just come in and make wholesale changes. He's going to really need that 6 weeks to really tinker with what he wants to do with the team. But it's exciting times. I'm just glad that cloud of Richardson is done. As much as I hated seeing him go, because he's a great guy and he did his best for the club and he had some amazing wins. They're too far and few between, but he had some seriously good wins against Geelong, against GW, smashing Richmond, smashing Hawthorn in Tassie for the first time. There's a lot of big wins there. And even this season, he gave us a few big moments in the first 6 weeks of the season. So thanks, Richo, for that, and all the best, mate. But now we're on to Ratten. and we'll see how he goes on Sunday. I'm going to leave it there, guys. Thanks so much for watching, and obviously it's a bit of an early preview, but hopefully you enjoy it. Also, I'm obviously not going to the game on Sunday, so it's a bit upsetting to not support the boys in their first game with Ratten, but Matt Marsh, who runs the chants at the stadium, you might have seen a bunch of his chants that I've posted recently that always just seem to go nuts. He was at the Cattery on the weekend, and I bumped into him, and he led the charge there with chanting. They were almost louder than some of the Cats fans there, so awesome job with him and the Isle 29 Sainers. He may be taking over live after the game on Sunday to answer your questions and also to just walk around Etihad post-game, win, draw or loss, and interviewing any Saint that he finds. So that's the plan. I may still do the review after the game, but the plan is to get him live. And if you find him and you're at Etihad, make sure you chat to him, because you might be on Saints TV giving your feedback on the performance, what you saw changed, with Richardson gone and Ratten in charge, and what you want from the team for the rest of the season. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching. Go Saints. Good luck, Ratten. Hope we get the win on Sunday. See you guys.